We have a full agenda tonight with 2 outside speakers, followed by topical updates by our Transportation Division staff. We will have a Q&A for our outside speakers immediately following their presentations so that they can be on their way, and then have another Q&A session following our staff presentations. If you do have a question, you will be able to do so by entering it into the Zoom Q&A feature, which should be a button at the bottom of your screen. We intend to adjourn the meeting at about 8 o'clock, but may go beyond 8 if we still have a number of questions to address, for which we will stick around and hopefully address them all. If we are not able to address all questions, we will follow up after the meeting via email. Just a quick overview of our agenda. We're going to have some opening remarks here in a moment, but we're going to get an overview of the Transportation Improvement Program, or TIP, from Rick Murphy, an overview of the Bridge Management Program from Eric Quinn from the Chester County Department of Facilities, and then we're going to follow up with updates on public transportation, major roadway projects, and trail development from our division staff. And at the end, we'll have another Q&A and discussion at the very end. So with that, I am going to stop my share and turn it over to our relatively new Executive Director, Matt Edmond. Matt.
All right. Thank you, Brian. And good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's Transportation Summit. I don't know if anyone ever thinks about this, but transportation, it really is a vital part of our lives. It's part of our society, because every time that we leave our house, whether it's to walk down the street to visit a neighbor, whether it's to get in our car to go get groceries, or whether it's to get to a train and take a train into the city for fun or for a job, no matter what we do, when we leave our house, we interact with the transportation system. We engage with it. And so we take it really seriously here at the Chester County Planning Commission, and we know most of our citizens and our partners like you take it seriously as well. And so we're just happy to have you here tonight to welcome you to our event. Rick Murphy is with DVRPC, and he'll talk quite a bit about the TIP. We get questions all the time about the TIP. What is it? How does it work? And so Rick is here to illuminate us a little bit. And within the county government, our bridges are really important. We have 93 of them. There's 2 of them that we co-own with Montgomery County. They're very big. And you may not always realize when you're driving over a bridge, but they're an essential part of our roadway system. So Eric will talk a little bit about our bridges and how we manage them. And then Brian and his team with Patty and Alex and Steve will give you an update on our trails and what we are doing at the Chester County Planning Commission to advance the projects and landscapes 3 that are so important to all of you. So again, we're glad you're here. Thank you for joining us tonight. We hope you find it useful and practical. Back to you, Brian.
All right. Thank you, Matt. Our first speaker this evening will be Rick Murphy. Rick is the manager of the Office of TIP Development and Maintenance at the Delaware Valley Regional Planning Commission. I've worked with Rick going on about 10 years now, as this will be my, 5th rodeo in the current FY27 TIP update. Rick is one of the best transportation planning professionals out there. He always exhibits patience and empathy when explaining the rather complex TIP processes for not only me, but all the other planners from PennDOT, SEPTA, the suburban counties, and City of Philadelphia as we go through the biennial TIP update process that Rick so skillfully manages. With that, I'll turn it over to Rick, who will provide an overview of the TIP. Take it away, Rick.
Thanks, Brian. Thank you for the kind words. And let me share my screen here. All right. So I'm going to be presenting a little bit of understanding the Transportation Improvement Program, or TIP for short. So this summary will introduce the TIP and explain some key elements of the project development process. So we'll talk about TIP project categories and show some examples. I'll discuss how the TIP is funded, how the TIP and the long-range plan work together, how a project makes it onto the TIP, how project development and delivery steps take place, and how you as a member of the public can get involved in the TIP process. So DVRPC is a bi-state region. So on the Pennsylvania side, that includes Bucks, Chester, Delaware, Montgomery, Philadelphia counties, as well as the city of Chester. And on the New Jersey side, it includes Burlington, Camden, Gloucester, Mercer counties, and the cities of Camden and Trenton. Because we're a bi-state agency, and there's 2 states involved, we have to develop and maintain 2 tips. So that means 1 tip for the Pennsylvania subregion and 1 tip for the New Jersey subregion. We just recently adopted the New Jersey tip, and we're waiting for federal approval. And in the meantime, we are currently in the initial development stages of the 2027, that's a fiscal year, federal fiscal year 2027 tip update for Pennsylvania. So a little bit about the tips. So the tip is what is an agreed upon list of priority transportation projects for our region. It lists all the funding sources for each project, and the set of projects in the tips need to stay within our budget or fiscal constraint. So we are given an amount of state and federal dollars that we expect to receive, and we have to stay within that budget. Currently, the summation of both tips over the next 4 years is approximately $10.4 billion. These are multimodal programs, meaning they include automobile, transit, pedestrian, cycling, and freight projects as examples. So some of the projects are bicycle pedestrian improvements, roadway rehabilitation, bridge repair replacements, interchange improvements, and transit improvements. So a TIP project can improve multiple categories of those. So an idea can originate to solve one problem, but it can grow to address other opportunities. So a roadway rehabilitation or reconstruction project could include improvements such as bike lanes, sidewalks, or traffic signals. So an example is the Lafayette Street Extension project in Montgomery County. This was located at the junction of multiple modes of transportation, including regional highways, SEPTA's Norristown Transportation Center, and the Circuit Trails Network. Now, intersections have been realigned. The roadway has been reconstructed to reduce congestion. There's been improved access to the SEPTA Norristown Transportation Center and the Greyhound Beaver Mart bus terminal, and new sidewalks and crosswalks have been installed, and connections to the Schuylkill River and the Chester Valley Trails have been connected. Another example is Porter Road and Old Bethlehem Pike in Bucks County. The project improved an intersection from a 4-way stop to a roundabout. So this roundabout reduced crash points and has lowered speeds to promote safety. Part of the project included wetland protection and flood mitigation, and also aims to reduce congestion. There were crossings at each leg of the roundabout, and a multi-use side path connecting trails were installed. All right, so how the TIP is funded. We have approximately 500 plus TIP projects between the 2 TIPs for New Jersey and Pennsylvania. The federal funding comes from Congress. The latest legislation is the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, which actually is set to expire on September 30th of 2026. That funding then flows to our federal partners at FHWA, Federal Highway Administration, and FTA, Federal Transit Administration. On the state side, they do something very similar at the legislature level, where they dedicate funding to the Transportation Trust Fund. Both federal and state funds then flow down to either transit agencies or the state DOTs to go on to either transit projects or multimodal roadway projects. And depending upon the project, some local funds are also part of it. So example of FTA funded projects are station constructions or rehabilitations, like you see on the screen here. And so switching gears a little bit, DVRPC is considered a facilitator and convener where we bring local, regional, and state leaders, including departments of transportation, transit agencies, together to come to a consensus to decide on how we spend our limited transportation dollars. So how do we do that? First, it comes from the vision, our updated Connections 2050 long-range plan. And that outlines a set of goals, strategies, and priority transportation investments to help realize the vision in that document. That's an outlook of 25 years. The sooner, the time frame that is closer to us, 4 to 12 years, is the TIP. So the federal TIP is 4 years. PennDOT has a planning horizon of 8 years after that, and they call the full 12 years the 12-year program. And this institutes the short-term vision of the long-range plan. So more funding is needed at the federal, state, and local levels over the next 20 plus years to maintain the region's infrastructure and allow new projects to move forward. So we can only afford approximately $80 billion, and that is available funding in the TIP. What we need to maintain a state of good repair is $163 billion. So every TIP project is different, but they all follow a very similar process. So a need is identified, and then it moves into a study that includes regional and local plans, and then trying to figure out how we fund the project. And then the project idea is evaluated and prioritized. And then after that, if it is chosen, it's selected and approved for funding to be included into the TIP. And then it's developed and delivered a project later on. And then afterwards, the project is complete. So if you have a concern, you bring it to your officials, and a need is identified and then studied. There are proposals that are reviewed at the city, county, and also regional levels by planners, engineers, and other experts. And then potential projects from the counties, cities, DOTs, and transit agencies are prioritized. Then, after that, the DVRPC board considers regional technical committee input and public comments to determine the final list of TIP projects. So the DVRPC board votes to adopt the final list of projects. Once that takes place, then a project can move into the TIP and final design can begin. Engineering and then final design can begin. After that, right-of-way acquisition, if needed, and utility work is done. And then after that is ready, the project moves into the construction phase, where projects are physically constructed according to the final designs. So, how do you get involved in the TIP? You can provide your thoughts on projects within the TIP. When we go out for a public comment during our 30-day public comment period, which be on the lookout, we will have one sometime in the late spring. You can comment on specific projects or the specific program. You can also read about TIP projects in your area and send your comments using the links on the DVRPC website. And we do accept comments year-round. For the 30-day public comment period, there's a specific application and website and email address that comments can be sent to. But throughout the regular course of the year, an email can be sent to public_affairs@dvrpc.org. We also have board meetings 10 times a year, and sometimes we'll have TIP projects that are presented for changes. At that time, you can also comment on those projects as well. There are other ways to get involved. So you can contact your municipal and county officials about transportation concerns or project ideas. You can send your comments or questions to www.dvrpc.org/getinvolved/comment, or you can attend some DVRPC meetings, and you can find out more at www.dvrpc.org/getinvolved. So that was a quick presentation on the TIP, and I'd be happy to answer any questions. Ryan?
Thank you, Rick. I'm looking and I'm not seeing any questions in the Q&A. Anyone have any questions for Rick? All right, I'll throw one out there for you, Rick, just to say something. So what do you find is the most challenging aspect of managing the TIP?
Trying to make everyone happy. we have a very limited amount of funding that we have to spread amongst all of our partners in the Southeast region, and everyone has their own priorities. But we also have to make sure that we're in alignment with PennDOT's lowest life cycle cost, which is making sure that we do the right work at the right time on a project, and not necessarily do a worst to first type of project, because again, we have limited amount of funds and we have to try and stretch those dollars. But also federal performance measures. We have to make sure that we're hitting our targets that are set by our board, that are mandated by the federal legislation. So trying to make sure that we hit those federal and state requirements, and also working with our partners to make sure that their priorities are also met as well.
So that's not just juggling the numbers on the paper side, it's working with the partners on the people side too. So
yes.
And all right, we do have a couple questions that popped into the Q&A. So I'll start with one. How far up the river does DVRPC go? I assume that means the Delaware River. That's Bucks County, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. We
on the PA side.
Yeah, our Pennsylvania boundaries are Bucks, Chester, Delaware, Montgomery counties in the city of Philadelphia.
All right. Second question here is, given the federal cuts across the board, how confident are you that the feds will fund the TIP? So we are getting funding from the a lot of the stuff is formulaic. If you might want to explain that, Rick.
Yeah. So most of our funding is from formula funds. That's either based upon our annual daily travel to the population. That also includes the asset conditions of the roadway and the bridges. We also have federal funding from the law, the IIJA, that also is set to expire in September of next year. And I've always been taught that if there isn't a new law, there will always be a continuing resolution until the new law has been passed. And so we are working off of those assumptions. It is not lost on any of us that are updating the TIP that day one of this draft TIP that we're working on is October 1st of 2026, the day after the IIJA is set to expire. But we're still working based off of guidance from PennDOT, and we'll see what happens.
All right. Thanks, Rick. I get two more questions here. One, what is the percentage of projects to get approved for the TIP program? In other words, of projects that are, I guess, considered versus how many to get into the TIP on average.
I don't necessarily have a percentage, but I would probably say it's very, very small. We have a lot of projects that have already been committed to over the course of the years. There are many projects that have been on the TIP for not just years, but decades, that are finally getting through years and years of final design, because they're very large corridor projects. And sometimes the corridor projects are hundreds of millions of dollars. For example, the western end of US 30 in Chester County. So that's 3 projects that are finally getting close to actually starting construction. I'm excited to see that moving, because it's been on the TIP for many, many years. And I started working 14, 15 years ago in the TIP. So to be able to see something that was in preliminary engineering and final design to finally moving into construction is exciting. It's federal government funded work, and there's a lot of regulations, and it will take a while to get through the development process.
Yeah. Yeah, and I could just say from Chester County's perspective and what we do, we have a transportation improvement inventory, which will be covered later here, but we have, 500 plus projects in that inventory. And, it's not every year, every TIP update that we're even able to add those projects. And when we do, it's maybe 2 or 3 or 4. So it's really a low percentage. I guess we have time for one more question. I guess from a time a project gets onto the TIP, how long does it take on average to get through the process?
I think it sort of depends upon the project itself and the complexity that's with it. If it's a smaller project, the likelihood of it getting on the TIP, and then after it's on the TIP and going through engineering and design to construction, could take a couple years. But for something that's a large corridor project, it honestly, it could be decades. It sort of
It all
just
depends on the scale. Yeah.
Yeah, and the project it takes on a life of its own, because there are times, like I've seen bridges. This is anecdotally, just bridges where we thought that we were going to be able to get it onto the TIP and then off, and then once they did the core borings, they found out the bridge was a lot worse condition than what they thought, and there was additional work that needed to be done and designed for. So it took a little bit longer. So you really don't know until you get into the engineering phase.
There's one last question here, and again, that is, what is the tax source that supplies the money? And I think I could take that on. That was, the federal money comes from the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, which is the latest surface transportation bill in Congress from the federal level. And at the state level here in Pennsylvania, it's through Act 89. And are there other sources of state funding beyond Act 89, Rick?
I know some bridges are through local bridges are funded through like Act 13, for example.
Oh yeah,
but
some
Act
additional
89,
funding
yeah.
From,
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you, Rick. We really appreciate you taking the time out of your day and evening to come here and present to us, and we'll cut you loose. So you're welcome to stay on if you like. All right. So our next speaker is going to be Eric Quinn. Eric Quinn is a certified planner and the bridge program manager for the Chester County Department of Facilities. Some of you may recognize Eric as he participated in past summits like these as a member of the transportation planning crew here in the Planning Commission prior to transferring to Facilities Department to become the bridge program manager. Eric managed our transportation inventory a couple of years. He also managed the county's bicycle and pedestrian safety campaign, as well as Chester County's complete streets policy. So I'll now turn it over to Eric, who's going to give an overview of the bridge management program. Eric?
Okay. Thanks, Brian. Let me share my screen here. See if I can get this to work properly. All right, we're good. Do I have the right screen up, Brian?
You're good.
Okay, thank you. Eric Quinn, Bridge Program Manager in the Department of Facilities here at Chester County. My immediate director is George Martinick, Director of Facilities, and I work closely with our county bridge engineering consultant, Brett Coleman, who is the county has a contract with traffic planning and design. I'll start off strong here with our first picture. This is County Bridge 26, Camp Bonsall Road. This project was in design for quite a while. It was months from going to construction, and before we could get it to out to bid, the bridge was destroyed when a storm came through from the remnants of Hurricane Ida. And so we had to spend a couple more years. We were fortunate enough, and PennDOT was very helpful in helping the county secure funding, federal funding, and we were able to replace this bridge in kind. And that was just opened up last month. So good success story for us. Tonight, we'll go through some fun numbers and statistics. We'll talk about inspections and the federally mandated national bridge inspections. We'll talk a little bit about the bridge crew and general maintenance. We'll discuss how projects are prioritized, funding, figuring out how the county pays for this, all this work, and we'll take a look at ongoing projects. I don't think we'll have time, but I have design challenges in here, but I think we'll be limited to our time. So the county owns 93 roadway bridges. 91 of these bridges are inspected and maintained by the county. 2 of the bridges are co-owned with Montgomery County. And let's see if I can get this to work. Right up here is the Kime Street Bridge, which is up right there. Kime Street, which is one of the co-owned bridges under construction. Monco really is in charge of that project. But if you're in the northern part of the county and you're aware of that project, that bridge is currently under construction and hopefully will be opening mid-2028. The county has 67 bridges that are classified as in fair or good condition, and that's based on National Bridge Inspection Standards, NBIS. Right here you've got Watermark Road. This was a project that was completed back in 2024 in Upper Oxford Township, Bridge 21. The county has 26 bridges that are considered in poor condition. I would like to state that if a bridge is open, it is safe for travel. So bridges can be in poor condition and open and still safe for travel. That said, there are 6 bridges that are currently closed. 4 of those bridges, though, are in construction. The county has 43 bridges that have posted weight limits, which can affect oil deliveries, emergency vehicles, other pieces of heavy equipment from using the structure. And this is County Bridge 207. This is Old Schuylkill Road, closed right now. It is in design for rehabilitation. It's the county's oldest bridge in its inventory. It was built in 1804. And this is up near Parker Ford, East Coventry. There are 24 bridges that are identified as functionally obsolete. That could be inadequate lanes, substandard geometry, sight distance. Safety features could be inadequate. So there's a number of things that could make a bridge functionally obsolete. And then there are 37 bridges that are 50 years or older. And this particular bridge is 92, Harvey's Bridge, Newland Township. That actually fits both of those characteristics. It's functionally obsolete and it's definitely older than 50 years. This bridge is in design and hopefully we'll see this get into construction within the next 18 months, hopefully. The National Bridge Inspection Standards, they are federally mandated. Any bridge that has a roadway bridge that has a span of 20 feet or more, it has to be inspected at least every 2 years. The inspections help our bridge program prioritize maintenance. They help the engineer keep an eye on areas of rapid deterioration, which we have some bridges that we have to keep more of an eye on than others. And then they also help us determine prioritization ratings when it comes time to consider bridges for replacement or rehabilitation. This particular project is 157 Dutton Mill Road, East Goshen. This is a scour critical bridge. And during this particular inspection, you can see the person's pole here that they use for prodding underneath of the foundation to check for soft spots and scour. This bridge was actually closed probably about 2 years ago for a number of months, specifically for a scour issue. And this bridge is also in design right now for replacement. A number of challenges on this particular bridge. It's got a high ADT. It's got a pipeline that will need to be a Sunoco pipeline that will need to be moved. And we've got some historic properties near the bridge that are also a bit of a challenge. BNBIS inspections help us prioritize maintenance. Lots of our maintenance is done by our bridge crew. They are really a jack of all trades. They have to do masonry, painting, welding, metalwork, roofing, carpentry, asphalt, landscaping. Then some days there'll be heavy equipment operators. Every day is different. They also do scour monitoring for us after heavy rain events. And these folks work out in the elements year round, and very grateful for their hard work to help us keep these bridges safe. The NBIS inspection ratings are also included in the county's structural prioritization method. This is where people will start to fall asleep a little bit. I'm going to keep this real simple. In this method, it's a bunch of calculations that are done. Basically, 8 tangible factors go into it. You can see them up top here: the superstructure, substructure, deck ratings, load ratings, scour, which we talked about, deck geometry, which would be that functional obsolescence again. ADT is always a big factor, and then your detour length. And then you've got your intangible factors, such as, is there a school nearby? Emergency routes. Is it part of an emergency route? Is there new construction in the area? And of course, a big one for us here at Chester County is historic preservation. And of course, considering historic preservation, and then just in general, we always are involving public comment with all these projects, I should say. Funding sources. Let's see. Planning Commission plays a critical role helping us secure funding through the TIP. Also, thanks Rick from DVRPC for that. Obviously, federal funding and state funding through the TIP. Not so the retro reimbursement. We don't have anything on the horizon, but the county does have a couple retro reimbursement projects right now. They are, the county has to basically foot the entire bill, design and construction, and then apply for reimbursement after the project is complete, and they can get 80% back for that. There are actually two projects going on right now. And then you've got your Act 13 funding, which I know was mentioned earlier, and Act 89 $5 fee funding. Every time you register your car, there's that little $5 fee. Well, that is funding that goes towards helping keep the county bridges open and safe. And then, of course, liquid fuel. So every time you're filling your gas tank, there's a little bit of funding that comes back. That actually goes to pay salaries for the bridge crew, myself included, general maintenance, and then it also goes towards paying for consulting for the bridge engineer. I don't have them all listed here, but there are currently 20 bridges in design. I just listed a couple of them. This particular bridge here is Thomas Road. That's in Tredyffrin Township. You can see you've got, just so you have an idea where you're at, that's the Pennsylvania Turnpike, and you go under that bridge and head up and you're into Valley Forge. But again, we've got about 20 bridges in design right now. And then we've got 4 bridges technically in active construction, 26, which was the first bridge on the slideshow. It is open right now. And so, but there's still a couple punch list items. So it's going to stay on the active construction projects for now. This particular picture is 65. This is in East Marlboro Township. This is actually what we consider a preservation project. It's not really a full rehab, but this bridge was tented, sandblasted down to the metal. It's going to be all fully repainted. They've got a new steel grid deck on it. And this bridge, I think they were supposed to pave today, but the rain probably held them off. So hopefully we'll have this bridge open back up to traffic next year. I'm sorry, next week. And outlook. So continued maintenance, always going to continue with maintenance. The reevaluation of priorities after each NBIS cycle, and which is going to have the greatest public impact as far as new projects, and then really what I call threading the needle, balancing safety and preservation and efficient use of funding. So, and that's it. There we go. There's my contact information. We do have a website up, which has a map of the county-owned bridges as well. And I'll turn it back over to Brian.
Thank you, Eric. We do have a couple questions in the Q&A, and one, and I'm not sure if this is a county bridge, so bear with me, but one person is asking if you could talk a little bit about the bridge replacement at Jeffries Bridge at Lucky Hill Road. Is that a county bridge?
Yes.
It's in East Bradford.
Allerton Road.
Oh, okay. It's in East Bradford.
Yeah. Jeffries is Act 89 $5 fee funding. It is a truss bridge that is being rehabilitated. It is an interesting project. They recently, the person's asking, they probably saw, but they recently had the crane out there. They actually lifted that bridge up over, placed it down into the field next to the abutments, and have it tented, and they're going to be sandblasting that down to bare metal, so the engineers can get out there and take a look at it and see what needs to be replaced. So that project will last throughout most of 2026. Hopefully we'll have that bridge back open for travel late next year.
All right, thanks, Eric. One other comment, Bridge 244 looks very nice, and This person will be glad when it reopens. And this person may also be able to answer the next question because it's Tim Stevenson offering this comment. The other question is the bridge on Route 41 in Avondale. Where is that in the process for replacement? That is a state bridge, correct? And
Yes.
Tim may be able to answer that. But my understanding that is on the tip. It is being looked at. I think that, and Tim can correct me if I'm wrong through the Q&A, but I believe they're looking to, there's also an intersection project just to the north of that at State Road. These are both tip funded projects. I think the goal would be to get those both to go at the same construction period, but I don't know if that'll happen. I do know the bridge on Route 41 is weight restricted, and they also have basically put some guiding measures on there to focus the primarily the truck traffic on certain beams, because that bridge was formerly, I believe, a freight rail bridge as well. So it has the weight capacity, but it does have some issues, and it is being looked at. We can get back to you. I believe it's Stephanie who's asking that question on. We'll follow up with email through the registration and let you know when that bridge is, a little bit more specific information on it. So appreciate the question. A few more general questions. Let's see, one from Gail. Why does it take so long from start of construction to finish an opening? I think that's a byproduct of most transportation projects, unfortunately. It's just because of the amount of review that it needs to go through, also prioritizing the funding. And, if it's federally funded, it also needs to be go through the NEPA process, which is the National Environmental Policy Act, which addresses, impacts to natural resources and historical impacts. So those things contribute to the length of the process. One more question from Nate. For municipalities, what is the best way to start regarding funding for bridge projects? Again, I'll take this one too. Municipal funding for municipal bridges is hard to find. I think the program that one of the programs that we have within the DVRPC region anyway is the municipal retro reimbursement program, which bridges have to be included on a state bridge bill to be able to receive state funding. And then it's similar to what Eric described. If you are accepted for that project to move forward, you will basically, fund the entire bridge and then get back 80% of the funding, removing the structural deficiency or the poor condition from that bridge. And I guess the last, I think this is the last, oh, there's more. Okay. Why are so many bridges fall into poor condition, being age or lack of funding?
Well, I know that there were definitely a number of years where there was a significant lack of funding. And it was, that's again why there are so many bridges that are well over 50 years old as well.
Yeah. And if you have a lot of major flooding events that impact the bridges too, that typically moves them up on or degrades their conditions as well, which kind of moves.
One of the other things that degrades the condition are that some of these bridges have posted weight limits, and when the overweight vehicles go over those bridges, they really tear them up. So we've got one project right now one bridge that is closed right now, specifically because so many overweight vehicles were going over the bridge.
Okay. Tim Stevenson says that the PA 41 bridge is in preliminary design now, and they're looking to post a rehabilitation feasibility analysis for public comment shortly. I guess the last question here is, what is the status of the bridge on Glen Willow Road, if that's a county bridge?
I am not familiar with it. I'll double check and let you know, though.
Okay. Well, appreciate it. We're running a little behind on time, so just want to keep moving with the rest of our presentation. We got about 12 minutes left. Eric, thank you for coming on and providing this overview. If we have any additional questions at the end geared toward bridges, we'll pass them along your way if we're unable to answer them.
Thanks, Brian. Thanks for the
All right.
invite.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for participating. All right. Moving on, we're going to get into the topical updates from our transportation division staff. I'm going to share my screen here, and we're going to get started here with. Can everyone see this? Give me a thumbs up. All right, good. Okay, I'm going to start off with major major roadway projects and highway related things by Patty Quinn. So Patty, take it away.
Thanks, Brian, and thanks for joining us, everyone. So the first thing we're going to talk about is really appropriate, especially for Rick's contribution this evening. So every 2 years, we begin our transportation programming and funding process with the update to our TII. And some of you may be familiar with this process and maybe not for some others. So what we do is every 2 years, we reach out to our 73 municipalities just to see what their transportation goals and needs are. Can go to the next slide. So this is Brian mentioned earlier, we have over 500 projects in the TII. I thought this round might be interesting to sort of take a deeper dive into the types of projects and where all the money's going, or estimated money, because not all of it's spent, right? So the bulk of our funding in the TII would go towards those major regional projects, which I'm sure isn't a surprise to all of you. We do have public transportation as well is a really huge cost, so I'm sure this won't surprise you either. The total cost estimate for the TII is over $4.59 billion, so that's if everything got funded. It's probably a little wiggle room in there just because we did our best to account for inflation, but inflation has been as well as you can all feel, right? So comparing the last 2 iterations of the TII, we have more projects, of course, as we go along. We did have some retired, but the cost went up, the amount of projects went up. It's good to see. It's good to see that our communities are looking at, new improvements to their transportation systems. But unfortunately, just like the regional tip, the need is greater than the available funding, right? You can go to the next slide, Brian. So after the TII, we do also start preparing our transportation priority projects brochure to be sent to Mike Carroll, who is head of the State Transportation Commission. So this brochure is created with the input of public and private partners from all around the county, our legislative folks, and this includes public transit, bike ped, and roadway projects. We also added a category to deal with some of the sustainability issues as far as slope deterioration and things like that, sinkholes, the new things that are happening around the county that we have to deal with. So we get the sort of approval from legislature and from our commissioners. We send this over to the STC, to Michael Carroll again, and just to let him know what our priorities are. We also have a site that Sally's going to put in the chat to keep track of the updates to these priority projects and what their statuses are. We can go to the next slide, Brian. So the first roadway project we're going to talk about is the Coatesville Downingtown bypass. This was mentioned earlier. Again, this is something everyone wants to get finished. So they've broken it up into 2 sections. We have the western terminus, which is further along than the eastern. The eastern is going to include a little bit of widening in some parts. And so the 3 western sections are Business 30, the terminus of the bypass at PA 10, Airport Road, and 82. So construction on the western terminus at PA 10 should begin around 2031. Airport Road construction is hoping to begin at 2029. And at 82, construction is hoping to begin in late 2030, and the estimate on the eastern section beginning is 2033, late 2033. Another big major regional project is the US 1 bypass reconstruction. It's a little different than 30. This is a little bit lighter of a lift, just concerning the fact that it doesn't need such a wide shoulder to be added. It does have some bridge reconstruction. It has repaving, wider shoulders, some improvements to the interchanges and the roadways that connect to Route 1. Construction is hoping to begin in late 2027 for this. And as you can see, it's from the PA-Maryland border to just west of Longwood Gardens at Schoolhouse Road. Can go to the next slide, Brian. So this project is hoping to wrap up really soon, probably in the next few weeks. This is US 202 at 926. So for this project, they're installing a new southbound right turn deceleration lane on Route 202 at 926 and installing an additional eastbound left turn lane on 926, which creates a double left turn configuration along the eastbound approach to the intersection with 202. They're also going to upgrade the signals, add some ADA upgrades, utility relocations, and repave. So everyone's excited about this coming to completion as well. Another project that's ongoing, this one's in the earlier stages. It's Baltimore Pike and Newark Road intersection. So this is one of our most congested intersections in the county, and part of this project will realign Newark Road to make it less curvy, so better sight distance. It's also going to add turning lanes on Baltimore Pike in both directions and northbound turning lanes on Newark Road. And we're hoping that construction begins on this in spring of 2027. St. Peter's Road. So this is a slope failure, and it obtained an emergency proclamation, which this was with the help of our local legislator. So it's always really helpful when you guys contact them when you have an issue, because you can throw a little muscle in there. But thankfully, with their help, that moved to construction really quickly. It did erode a bit more after they closed the one lane. So they closed the entire road. Construction has began, and they're hoping to finish construction this coming spring in 2026. You can go to the next slide, Brian. And for a moment, we thought we'd talk about some projects that we've released in the last few months. This is the Rural and Agricultural Transportation Resources Guide, and we did a lot of interviews and surveys talking to public works directors, roadmasters, supervisors, and just people who are really in tune with their communities to create a guide that focuses on safety, maintenance, training, funding opportunities, policy and design resources, with the goal of maintaining rural character while improving our communities. Can switch to the next slide, Brian. And the last project we wanted to talk about was the Municipal Transportation Grants Guide. So this was created with the help of a committee from both the public and private sectors. A lot of the people that worked with us had a lot of experience as far as carrying, applying for, and working with grants. Some of them, that was their career. So it's designed to help communities identify, plan, prepare, and apply for transportation grant funding, and it contains in-depth information to help communities prepare for the difficulties that come with preparing and managing grant funding. And I'll give it back to Brian.
All right, thank you, Patty. It's a nice overview of some of the major projects we got going on, as well as a couple of the resources that we've completed this summer with the rural and ag communities outreach, as well as the Municipal Transportation Grants Guide. Now I'm going to turn it over to our transportation planner, Alex Sankaran, who's going to give you an update on public transportation. Alex?
Thanks, Brian. So, I'm going to cover just really all the different types of public transportation we have in the county, starting with the elephant in the room, which is SEPTA, which is obviously the provider of most of what we do have in the county. I think, as pretty much everyone knows, the funding crisis was really the talk of most of the summer and into the fall. Um, and there was a resolution. However, it's a short-term resolution, essentially kicked the can down the road. SEPTA was faced with doing some pretty severe service cuts, the first of which did actually start for a couple of weeks, and those were going to be followed by even more drastic cuts starting this upcoming January. Instead, they got permission from PennDOT to take from their capital funds, right? So they were looking for operating funds, so they're drawing from the capital funds as a sort of band-aid solution until a more permanent funding solution is found from the state. However, the most recent budget does not include transit funding, so that will have to come from outside of the state budget, likely through an act. But it still means we don't have a permanent answer yet. So, as we often do, we'll have to kind of come and revisit this every few years, which is obviously not ideal. Next slide, please. One of the nice things, though, is SEPTA is picking back up with the bus revolution, which is a project they had started a couple of years ago, looking to essentially overhaul the entire bus network, make it more efficient, look at places where the ridership wasn't all that good, and look at why. So one of the things coming out of that project is their version of microtransit, which they're calling SEPTA On Demand. We are going to get a couple of microtransit zones in Chester County. What you can see here on the map are going to be two of the first zones that they're looking to introduce. The blue one is covering most of the north side of the borough of Westchester up through Chester County Hospital, heading northeast kind of around Phoenixville Pike. The other one is they're calling the Paoli Great Valley On Demand Zone. That's basically serving all the corporate parks up around 202 and 29. These are both replacing existing fixed service. These bus routes aren't super heavily used. They're not running super frequently. So their hope is that they'll get better ridership using this sort of on-demand model, kind of similar to a ride share where you book it through an app. It shows up within, they're saying, a 30-minute response time. And the big thing is it would cost you transit fare. So it would cost you $2.90. It wouldn't be, a 10 or 20 or whatever dollar Uber or Lyft. So it certainly can be beneficial. They're looking to roll this out in spring of 2026. Obviously, it's not just the vehicles and the operators that they need, but because it'll primarily function through an app, there will be an associated app. So again, they're saying 2026 for now. So hopefully that's something we can look forward to next year. Next slide, please. Another thing to look forward to next year is the opening of the Amtrak Coatesville station. The new station's moving about a block east from where the current station is. The current station's essentially an old dilapidated building, poor lighting, poor access, basically minimal parking. So all of that is going to be gone, and we're going to have a nice new station along with a lot of pedestrian and streetscape improvements in the city of Coatesville. The construction is, I would say, roughly 55-60% done. I think we're looking at either third or fourth quarter of 2026 as the opening date. Amtrak has said that they will increase service at Coatesville, I believe, once the new station is open. Right now, not all Keystones stop at Coatesville. Many of them run by, so that's also something to look forward to. Next slide. In August, we wrapped up one of the steps of our bus shelter initiative, which was looking at identifying some heavily used bus stops in Chester County, primarily in our boroughs, that didn't have any amenities. Obviously, no bus shelter, no benches, anything like that. And to try and get a bus shelter for these stops and for these riders. So we ended up picking two sites. One of them is pictured here in Phoenixville. The other one is in the borough of Westchester. The Westchester one is not done yet, but the Phoenixville one was installed at the end of August. And you can see the picture here, nice new bus shelter. And again, it provides an opportunity to target certain stops And since we have that data from SEPTA, we can find those stops that have a lot of riders and look to do this more in the future. Next slide. Last thing, just want to touch on the SRPRA, the Schuylkill River Passenger Rail Authority. This is essentially the group that's looking to restore service for Chester County's purposes, restoring service to Phoenixville. However, it would also include service to Pottstown and actually all the way up to Reading. So really beneficial, not just to Chester County, but also to Berks and Montgomery County, as well as the larger region. The plan for this would be to have Amtrak intercity style service running from New York to Philadelphia and then along up through Norristown, stopping at Phoenixville, Pottstown, and up to Reading. This project was part of the FRA's Corridor ID program and was accepted into the initial phase. I believe we're moving into phase 2 of this. So again, this is kind of a bit of a longer term project. There's a lot of work that needs to be done in terms of which route is going to be used and basically working with some of the other agencies involved, Amtrak, Norfolk Southern, the freight company that owns some of the lines, as well as where the station sites are going to be. But it's good to see this project moving along, and it'll be greatly beneficial because I know a lot of us have been talking about Phoenixville rail restoration for a long time.
Thank you, Alex. Great summary of all the things public transit wise in the county. Moving on, we're going to get into our trail development. We are a little bit over 8 o'clock, but I think Steve will get through this nicely, and then we'll get to our Q&A. So take it away, Steve.
All right, thanks, Brian. So to wrap us up, what I wanted to do was share some updates on the status of several of our ongoing trail projects. On this slide here, you can just see our Landscapes 3 Trails policy map. On this map, we highlight the Circuit Trail network, and you can see the recommendation as well from Landscapes 3 to create a countywide interconnected trail network. Right now, the county is actively working on several Circuit Trail projects, including projects on the Chester Valley Trail, which cuts across the center of the county from the east to west, as well as the Struble Trail that runs north out of Downingtown. Next slide. All right, so the first project that we want to highlight here is the Chester Valley Trail Phase 4A extension. So this project is located in Exton in central Chester County, and the project will extend the Chester Valley Trail from the Main Street at Exton Shopping Center west to the Oakland's Corporate Center. So this image here on the screen shows the extent of the project. On the right-hand side there, you can see that the trail basically starts from just behind the Walmart at the Main Street at Exton, and it goes west into Oakland's. The trail does include a bridge that crosses over Whitford Road so that people won't have to cross Whitford Road at grade. And then it actually ends in Oakland's at a sidewalk that connects up to Creamery Way, which is located within the corporate center. Construction on this project started in July, but during site clearing, the contractor actually ran into a number of sinkholes on the western end of the corridor. Because of this, we did have to pause construction for a little bit while we came up with a plan for addressing the sinkholes, but work has resumed now on the project, and it is the contractor's plan to continue working through the winter so long as the weather permits. And at this point for construction, we anticipate that it will extend into the middle of next year, but we expect that the project will be wrapped up in 2026. Next slide. All right. So our next project here is the Chester Valley Trail West Enola Low Grade segment extension to Acklen. So this project is located on the far western end of Chester County, just outside and going into Acklen Borough. This project is really exciting because it'll connect to the 29-mile long Enola Low Grade Trail, which is almost complete in Lancaster County. This slide as well shows the extent of this project, beginning with the connection to the Enola Low Grade Trail at the Chester-Lancaster County line there on the left. And then it will go 1 mile east right into the heart of Acklen Borough. The trail is being developed in an old rail corridor that's currently owned by SEPTA, and it will run right next to the Amtrak Keystone Corridor, which is highlighted in the pink line on the screen. The eastern terminus of the trail then will be at Acklen Borough Hall, where the trail will connect to a trailhead that was constructed by the borough as part of a park and playground project completed in 2024. This image here shows an image from the ribbon cutting of that park opening. If you look in the background, you can see the rail corridor with those big catenary towers in the back. That's essentially where the trail is going to be located. The trail will then come down off of that corridor and connect down to, roughly where the person is standing here in this photo in the foreground. This project is currently in the design phase. We did receive grant funding for both the design and construction phases on this project. And we anticipate that design is going to go through a good portion of 2026, largely due to the time needed to coordinate and review with both Amtrak and SEPTA, given that their impacts and the relationship to this project. So this sets us up for construction to likely be underway near the beginning of 2027. Next slide. All right, so next project here is the Chester Valley Trail P&T extension. So the P&T is a historic rail corridor running from roughly between Fraser and Thorndale. It was built in the early 1900s as a low-grade freight rail to bypass the more heavily trafficked main line of the Pennsylvania Railroad, but rail operations ceased on that line in the late 1980s. In 2017, then, the Planning Commission completed the Chester Valley Trail extension to Downingtown feasibility study and master plan that recommended that the Chester Valley Trail be developed within that corridor to take the trail further west toward Downingtown. The image there on the right is from the master plan, which showed the general extent of the trail. And in total, it'll be about 7 miles long, running from Ship Road in Exton to about 1.5 miles east of the Thorndale train station. Next slide. This map here just shows the extent of the project, which is broken up into 5 primary phases. The first phase will be developed within a 3.4 mile segment that's shown in blue on this image, and that runs between the Whitford Bridge on the east end and the Downingtown Trestle on the west end. We did receive a $500,000 grant from PADCNR that's going to go towards design and engineering of phase 1, and we should be officially underway with the design of this project at the beginning of 2026 once we have an engineer under contract. We'll also be looking to get going on phase 2 in the first quarter of 2026, and phase 2 involves the renovation of the Downingtown Trestle. To date, we received $700,000 in grant funding from a combination of DCNR and DVRPC for phase 2. And we also have a pending application for another $500,000 from DCNR, which would provide the remaining funding needed to cover this design. Just a quick note, this entire project is on the tip that Rick talked about earlier. So we do have construction funding lined up for this entire 7+ mile stretch. This really is a complex project, and also because we're using the federal funding, the project does need to go through the federal funding process, which is going to add time and approval requirements. I think as Brian was speaking to earlier. In all reality, it'll probably be about a decade before this entire 7+ mile stretch is complete. Next slide. We do have a webpage, though, on the Planning Commission website that does provide an overview of these different Chester Valley Trail projects. And we also try to keep that updated and current with news and updates as they happen. So the link is there at the bottom of the screen. It may also be coming up in the chat as well. So that's just a resource for the public to check in to see what's happening with those projects. Next slide. And then the last project to mention is an extension of the Struble Trail. So the Struble Trail comes north out of Downingtown Borough, and it ends at a trailhead at Dorland Mill Road. This current project will extend the trail about 800 feet to the north, creating a new connection to Marsh Creek State Park. The trail will cross Dorland Mill Road with a signalized trail crossing. So this includes new ADA ramps, as well as a signal with flashing lights and signage. Design and engineering on this project is largely complete, but we have run into some delays trying to get an HOP permit approved through PennDOT. At this point, we should have design and permitting completed by early 2026, after which we can put the project out for construction. Next slide. And then the last thing that I want to bring up is we're also looking to advance implementation of the Chester County Trails Master Plan. We completed the master plan in 2024, and it identifies over 300 miles of existing proposed trails throughout the county. And one of the core things that we're looking to do is work with our local partners to help implement some of the different trails in the plan. Specifically, the trail identifies 10 different what we call catalyst projects. And as part of our work program, we'd like to assist municipalities with helping to advance these different trails. So I would encourage everyone to check out the plan and please feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions or want to hear more about the Chester County Trails Master Plan. Thanks, Brian.
All right, so now we're going to go into our Q&A discussion. And before we do that, I just want to thank everybody for attending this evening. If you got to run, we understand. But if you have any follow-up questions that we're unable to address this evening, here's our contact information. You can find, I believe, a lot of the links to the projects that were discussed here this evening were put into the chat. But if you may have missed them, you could probably find all of it underneath the chescoplanning.org in the transportation topic area. So with that, we will stop the share and go into Q&A. Okay, so I'm going to open up the Q&A. And okay. Okay, first question. Is there any serious chance of reestablishing rail service to Westchester? I will take a stab at that. There is a group in the or a committee in the borough of Westchester, it's the Rail Restoration Committee, who is looking to utilize the existing SEPTA-owned right-of-way that was formerly carried the passenger rail service between the borough and the Center City, Philadelphia. Right now, SEPTA is they performed a feasibility study in 2018 for that. I think the recommended alternative for that was somewhere in the $380 million range. Primarily what needs to happen is they have to upgrade all the track to get it to passenger rail status, which is, I believe, class 1. I believe it's class 3 right now, which is typically for freight. It was mostly the condition of that rail line initially, which caused it to go out of service, plus a lack of funding in the early 80s. But there are current efforts by the borough of Westchester to reestablish that service. They're looking at alternative methods than the reestablishment of commuter rail, because so far as SEPTA's priorities for reestablishing that commuter rail service, it's somewhere near the bottom of their list for different reasons. But that if that local group is successful in working with SEPTA to move that forward, then that may be a possibility. Are there any updates on the DeVault Trail? The DeVault Trail is a Norfolk Southern owned, right now is a Norfolk Southern owned corridor that basically goes between, it actually extends into Montgomery County. It goes down to the Oaks area on the Montgomery County side. But then it also essentially goes from Phoenixville down through more or less paralleling 29, but it gets into Chester County and the Great Valley nearest 29 and the Turnpike. So it's approximately 5 some odd mile trail corridor. TMAC, which is the Transportation Management Association of Chester County, is working with a consultant to investigate what it would take to purchase that corridor from Norfolk Southern Corporation, and is beginning to work on those negotiations now. Norfolk Southern is also in the process of a potential merger with Union Pacific, which may create some opportunities for that acquisition as well. A lot of the reason it's been difficult to obtain former Norfolk Southern right-of-ways is because of how Norfolk Southern actually acquired the property when Conrail went belly up in the early 90s. Essentially, the book value that they have on these properties is a lot higher than what governmental agencies or trail groups are able to spend. So hopefully there's some movement in that category if that merger goes through. But I think ultimately the next step for the DeVault Trail would be for acquisition of that corridor, which is anticipated to be done on a multi-municipal level between the municipalities of Charlestown Township, Schuylkill Township, and the borough of Phoenixville. And I don't have any more questions in here. couple. I think that's all we have. The Glen Willow Bridge. Tim, is that a state bridge? Yes or no? I can copy and put this into the chat, which I will do. Tim provided a link regarding the Glen Willow Bridge, and can make this work. Yeah, I think that should do it. That should be coming through here. So that's the report. Thank you, Tim. Much appreciated. Do we have any other questions out there? No. All right. Well, again, thank you everybody for joining us this evening and sticking around a little bit later. Then we had obviously a chock full agenda, and if you have any questions on any of these things that were presented this evening, please feel free to reach out to us through our website and contact us by email or give us a call. Thanks again, everybody. Have a great evening.